the story gives me so much anxiety. So we're taking it back 2016. I had just turned 18 and I was trying to do like a first little adult trip on my own. I find a really low-key wildlife center in Costa Rica and I decide to go spend 3 weeks there volunteering. So I get there, it's wet season, so it rains every single day. And every morning, all the volunteers would get together and we would kind of delegate all the tasks for the day. So, you know, you 3 go do the howler monkeys, you 2 go do the sloths, whatever. There's this guy named Tom, and he was just called Bird Guy Tom. He never had to show up to the delegation meetings. He just assumed all the responsibility for every single bird that was on the property, both daytime shift and nocturnal shift. Well, one day, he decides to go on a little, like, day trip, like, overnight. So we have to delegate all of his bird tasks among us. And I'm not the biggest fan of birds. Like, I think they're cool and interesting from, like, a scientific perspective, but they give me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. But when I was younger, my mom worked at a zoo, and we had taken care of owls before. So I normally do the nocturnal animals anyway when I was at this center, and I had a little soft spot for owls. So I said, oh, I'll do the owls if y'all want to do the rest, because I hate them. I don't, but... so we had to do our nocturnal rounds at, like, 1 a.m. I get partnered with another girl and I tell her, I'm like, oh, I've taken care of owls before. I can go in the enclosure if you want. And we don't really know what we're doing because Bird Guy Tom didn't really give anyone like a rundown of like what he does. So we go to the enclosure. I have the little bowl of food. I'm like, I can like physically go in the enclosure and just exchange. Like we find where the old bowl is placed, swap them, easy peasy. So it's monsooning, it's pitch black, and I unlock the cage and I start to go in. I had never seen these owls before. I had a little like animal guide of the animals of Costa Rica, and all the owls that I saw in that guide were like tiny little like pygmy spotted owls, adorable. These owls were confiscated pets. I don't know where they were from, but it wasn't Costa Rica. And they were like the size of my torso. Their names were Rasputin and Merlin, and these things looked evil. So I get in the cage, and both of the birds are looking at me like their heads down, their eyes are big, and their shoulders are kind of out. And this enclosure is low. Like, I can't stand up tall, so I'm having to kind of, like, duck down. And I'm, like, eye level with them. They're about 5 feet away from me. And the other girl I'm with is standing outside of the enclosure. And I'm like, hey, can you go down, like, the length of the enclosure and try to, like, get them to look over at you, like, make some noise so that they're not looking directly at me? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So she goes to the cage, starts like rattling the chain link. She has her phone flashlight trying to get their attention. Birds look at her. I start sneaking in. I find where the previous bowl was, like from yesterday, and it was zip tied in a milk crate, or the milk crate was zip tied to branches and the bowl's inside of the crate. And I'm like, okay, Bird Guy Tom does this every day. I'm fine. Like these birds aren't going to hurt me. He does this every day. So I start to creep in, and then I notice, man, I'm getting really close to these birds and they have no idea that I'm here. I really don't want to surprise them and then they attack me. What do I do? Part 2.